So, what's going on with all this human resident stuff? And is there quantum leaps happening? And why do some people think there is? And why do some people not think there are? So, if you're interested in that kind of a thing and you're wondering what the heck's going on a spiritual level, stay tuned. Welcome back. My name's Angie, and I am a soul alignment mentor. I have taken some different paths in the recent years and spent some time really tuning into my own spirit, trying to figure out what it is that I am here to do, what my mission is on the earth this time around. And it always came back to teaching and helping people to align with their highest self, with their soul purpose, with the reason their spirit came to earth. And I'm finding it really interesting right now with all of the talk. If you follow any of the social media platforms where there are spiritual teachers of any kind, there's a lot of talk of the human residence that is happening right now. And I will admit, I do not follow that very closely. I really enjoy watching other people teach about it. But for me, myself, it's not something that I've been drawn to do. However, when I noticed on the 18th of this month in June, on Father's Day, the strange things that were happening with the energy, I guess you would say, it kind of perked me up a little bit. And the reason it did is because for a few years now, I have been getting spiritual downloads about what is going to happen on Earth. And I have not studied a lot of spiritual teachers from the past that talked about the new earth concept and the new earth coming, but I do know about some of it. And I have watched and I've studied Dolores Cannon, and I have kind of looked into some of the other things that are happening as far as that concept of a new earth coming and spirits coming to earth to help bring that about. And what's really interesting about this is in the downloads that I've had in the recent years, which started several years ago, things are starting to make sense in what I've been told in my spirit. I believe it was probably 2 years ago. I'm an avid hiker. I was out hiking and I received a message in my spirit that humanity was about to go through a change. And the words I heard in particular were as in the days of Noah. Now, I don't know if I was a human back when Noah was alive. I don't know if I can actually tell you there was a real flood or what happened. I was not there. However, if you think about it in some of the understanding of maybe what can happen nowadays, and we took away social media and we took away all the ways that we communicate with each other right now, if there was a very large flood in your area, it would seem like the entire world was being flooded. And so, in some aspect, I can understand that this story talked about a world flood. And the thing is, though, when we are so informed of what is happening around the world and we can see a flood that's happening in another state or another country, we understand this is not the entire world. But if you think about back then, there was no way to understand that. If something were to happen in your area, it did feel like your entire world. So when I heard this message, I got really curious about what does it mean as in the days of Noah? And so I started to meditate on that several years ago, and things just continued to come to me afterwards. And what I was hearing was there was a shift that was going to happen on earth where there was going to be a split in energy. And the split was going to create a discomfort in us because it was going to take the old way of thinking and challenge it and prune it from some of us who are awakening. And the reason that needs to happen is because you cannot take old energy into something new. If you were trying to go into something new and you were taking something old, what is coming to my mind right now, sometimes my guides will give me parables or visions to help explain what they're trying to get across. So if I were to go out and mow and I come inside and I take my clothes off and I shower, and then I get out of the shower and I put the same clothes back on, that is like taking the old into the new. I've cleaned up, I've done what I need to do to release that part of my life that I've done. However, I'm still holding on to things and moving into the next part of my life. So this is much like when you go through an awakening, you begin to heal and you take off parts of yourself that no longer are relevant to where you're going. And once you understand this concept, it would feel really gross to put old clothes on or dirty clothes on. Like if I were to go roll around in the mud outside, come inside, take a bath, and then put that same clothing back on, that is what it's like to continue to hold on to old energy. So the split is actually releasing that part of us, that is releasing the old understanding, the old part of us that we do not need to take with us or we really can't take with us. So as this quantum leap, per se, is happening and the geometric changes are happening on the Earth's atmosphere and the energy is rising where it had been at 7.84 for a very long time and pretty steady around there. It was spiking all the way to 190 hertz the other day. That is unheard of in, at least in our time where we've been keeping track of the Earth's, of Gaia Earth's energy. And it makes complete sense that the frequency of the Earth is changing as we, as humanity change. It's as if the Earth is actually helping us increase our frequency. Because if the Earth did not also enhance its frequency, we would not be able to, because we are part of the Earth. Our human self is part of the Earth. And I'm hearing in my head, even in as of the days of Noah, we are also dust. Our physical body are part of the Earth. We return to the Earth when we leave our body. Our body disintegrates back into the earth and our spirit remains. And so when we understand this concept, it makes sense that the Earth's atmosphere, the energy of the Earth, would need to also increase, because you can't take old into new. So why is this split confusing for some people? And that I want to explain that in particular in this video. And then I will share other videos. If you guys want to drop me questions, go ahead and subscribe and follow me. If you have questions you would like me to tune in and talk to my guides about, I'd be happy to. But for the sake of explaining this in particular about why some people are like, this is real, this is not, I will share a little bit about what my guides also explained to me as far as understanding energy. So one of the things that is interesting about energy is there's different frequencies, there's different levels of energy. I can sense energy and in different levels in different places. And if you've ever walked into a room where two people were fighting prior to you going into the room, and this is a common example of being able to sense energy, you will feel a heavy energy. There's a heaviness about the room and it's uncomfortable. And because we are moving into a new frequency, that heaviness is starting to feel even more heavy for us, and we're not wanting to be around it. So many of us are in a separation from where we had been because our body, our spirit, our frequency is no longer tolerant of the lower energy. As we continue to rise, though, we have to go through ascension symptoms. We have to go through a training in order to be able to enhance our frequency and hold that higher level of frequency. Because if we were just to leap into a higher frequency from like a 3D to a 5D, we would not survive. Our human self would not survive. And so the way my guides like to explain this to me is recently, this has been several months ago, I was trying to unplug something from an outlet, and I was having a hard time getting it because it was under my desk, and I was trying to get, eventually I got it a little bit out. And so I stuck my finger in between the outlet and the plug, and I began to pull. But when I put my finger in between there, it electrocuted me, and I felt it come all the way through my arm. And it didn't hurt, it just was very uncomfortable. And I felt it the entire day. Like, I would be sitting on the couch and my arm would be tingling. And it was just a very uncomfortable feeling. And my guides like to use my life experiences to explain things to me. And so they began to talk to me about this particular energy and my experience and how this correlates to this change that's happening with the frequency of the earth. And I began to think about the different outlets in my own home and how some of them might have more energy than others. Then you go into the outlets that maybe are hooked up to larger machines in your home, where the outlet and the plug is much bigger than a simple light. And then you go out into your yard and you find even bigger plugs. However, if you go to the wherever your pole is in where you're living, that has the electricity that hooks up into your entire house, if you were to go to that pole and climb up to the top of it and touch the electricity at the top of that pole, you would die. And so that is why there are professionals and trained people that come and help turn your lights on when they go out or fix your electricity, because they know how to manage that high of a frequency. They know how to work with it. And so they're able to go up, handle that frequency, handle that energy, and be safe because they have been trained on how to manage that energy. We have not been trained how to manage that energy. And so we have to go through our training process to get to an understanding of how to handle higher energy and higher frequencies. And so this is what the ascension symptoms are. This is why we are going through these shifts. This is why we are opening ourselves up to a new energy. This is why we are healing old trauma. This is why we are being exposed to things in our life right now that are painful to deal with, or memories or energies of trauma stored in our body, because we cannot carry the old heavy energy into a higher frequency. Because if you think about it, maybe you don't know this, but there are levels in our human comprehension of heaven. There are layers of frequencies in the spiritual realm. And so the higher you get, the lighter you become. And this is a concept that only a human would put together, because in the spirit there is no change. There, it just is. And so, but for us, in the understanding of layers, there are different frequency layers. And so for us to ascend, we have to let go. It's just like we can't take our body when we leave, when we die, and our body is no longer a part of who we are. We can't take this heavy, dense body into the next layer. And then you go through a judgment where you do a life review. Your spirit does a life review, because you cannot take that energy into the next. And so the more you release, the higher of energy you get. And so why are some people on earth like, this is not real, but others are? And this is why. This is because there have been people that have been going through the training process already, and their frequency is rising. And so they have a deeper, better understanding of what is happening. Those who are in a dense energy, those who are still in a lower frequency, have no ability to comprehend this because they have not woken to it. And when people talk about an awakening, there is, there's people that talk about, well, we're just remembering. We're just remembering that we're spirit. We're just remembering who we really are. And that's absolutely true. It is a remembering. However, if you think about it, we have been asleep. We have been asleep for many, many, many thousands of years. And it's almost like our species is waking up. It's like we have been in a slumber and now we are waking up, and slowly, it's one at a time. Like, it's different humans are doing it at different times, and there's timelines of humans that are doing it once, and then another timeline. And those of us who have raised our frequency and have come into a higher understanding are going to be the ones that help teach the other ones that are coming up. And so it's just about growing. It's just like we have spirit guides that come and support us, and then there are angels, and then there are masters, and there are all different layers of teachers that are coming. And if you have been awake and you are at a higher frequency, then you're feeling that pull and that call to be that one to help others to come into that understanding of who they are as well. And that's just simply part of the process. So the people that are not waking up, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing they've done nothing bad. There is a concept of you can choose not to wake up in this timeline, but many will begin to feel that frequency change, and they will have to make a choice. Like, do I let go of this old part of me and move into the next, or do I stay? And this is, if you are familiar with any of the religious texts in the Bible, it talks about being left behind. And this is, religion has taken this and made it about hell and heaven and things like that. However, this is about the frequency change. There's a possibility to be left behind in this. And so I will share more about that in another episode, because I don't want to make this too long, because there's a lot of information to take in. But I do encourage you to subscribe and to follow, because I am feeling my spirit coming out of my own slumber, ready to release and share the messages I have been getting for many years that I've kind of had hidden inside of me, as I have worked on releasing my own energy, old energy and heavy energy of trauma and healing my mindset and such. So as I come back into my own frequency of love to be able to share, I encourage you to come along with me. So thank you for your time.